Hi and welcome to Distilling in Australia. My name is Nick, and in this video we're going to be doing quite a few things. I've got my transfer pump working, I've got my water pump working, I've hard pumped my reticulation system. I'm going to be making a thermal blanket for the still, and also I'm going to be doing another fermentation of another basic sugar wash for our next batch. I still have this first run spirit here that I have done, which is still at 74%, about 15.5 litres. And I have been saying all along it's a sacrificial run, but I have done some testing on it, and I'm actually really happy with the quality of that produce. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn this into a gin. So for those of you who are observant, you'll notice that I have my stainless steel canisters at the back there. I have been waiting quite some time for them to turn up, and they actually turned up this last week. So each one of those holds 35 litres, and I got them that size deliberately because out of this still, one batch, I can make one batch per canister. So that's the reason why they're 35 litres, because the alcohol I get out of here, by the time I dilute it down to 40%, that's the perfect size for each batch. So I can do 8 batches with those stainless steel, keeping them in those stainless steel containers. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of days. So as always, as I have to, here is 5 seconds of your life you'll never get back. Okay, now I've got to go to Bunnings and do a Bunnings run. So the first thing is I've just got to measure up here and the return of the still and work out how much insulation I'm going to need to get a nice jacket around this. So here we go. All right. So I need about 1.20 meters. So anything, 1200 insulation blanket or anything like that, that'll do. I'm going to make a mold out of it so as I can take off the thermometer and then just wrap it around it a couple of times with some Velcro on it, and then that'll enable me to take it on and off and to be able to clean it. All my distilling stuff is now over in the shelf over in that far corner. My wife got involved and cleaned me up, so you can see that everything's a lot more organised now. So I'll run you through the reticulation system. I'll do that a bit later on, but first I'm going to go to Bunnings, so I'll see you when I get back. Okay, so I'm back from Bunnings. So what I've bought is some Talon performance insulation. So this is a 4mm bushfire rated insulation. Important that obviously you get fire resistant insulation, because obviously we're operating at close to 100 degrees Celsius. This is rated to 120 degrees Celsius, so that's pretty good. So that's going to be what goes around the still. Now I have also bought some joining tape. Now, there's a couple of different joining tapes you can get, and one was rated to 60 degrees Celsius, which was not good, even though you could use it on this. This one is actually rated to 120 degrees Celsius as well. So just important that if you are going to do this with your still, that you make sure that you have the right rated insulation. I've also bought some Italian Boston hose here. Now this is to go onto the output of the deflagrator, because I've got to learn how to say that word properly. But this is rated to 90 degrees Celsius. What I noticed is that the tubing I bought before was just getting a bit too hot when it was coming out of the deflagrator, and so I've opted to get a hose that is rated to a higher temperature. So that'll be the output rating. So we're going to get started and make a thermal blanket for the still. Now this, if you notice this hose here, this is a food grade hose, water hose, and it's going to be used to filling up the fermenter and just general cleaning and that sort of stuff. So we're not in contact with an ordinary garden hose. This of course doesn't have any contact with any food because it's just in relation to the cooling system. All right, so let's get started. Beautiful. Well, that was a bit easier than expected. So I'll probably just pause it here now and just keep doing this. It's obviously going to take a while. You don't need to sit here and watch this me do that. But yeah, a simple matter of simply compressing it against the area where I need to go around, and then cutting it out on one side and then the other side. So that was pretty straightforward. So this stuff is actually working out really well, and it's going to give me a nice insulation for the still. So I'll be back once I've finished it. Okay, job done. All right, now I put 2 layers of the foil over the still. I've cut out for all the bits that protrude out, and I've secured it with a Velcro. So I just happen to have some of this Velcro, which I'll bring up to you. So it's just Velcro strips with adhesive on the back. And so what I've done is I've used that to Velcro it down. So I actually didn't need to use this tape. So what I'll do is I'll actually take this tape back to Bunnings and get a refund because I didn't need it. So I've also done 2 layers of insulation underneath, because actually the bottom of the still is here and this is a void. So in this void here I have 2 layers of this in here as well. So it's all fully insulated. I put the first of the column on with a bubble plate just to make sure everything was going to fit, and it all fits on perfectly. A couple of Velcro strips there to hold it all on. So this is only intended to be on the still when I'm actually using it, just to improve its thermal efficiency, and it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for it to reach the temperatures it needs to reach just from the first run. So I'm sort of interested in the timing. I'm going to run it at exactly the same percentages as I ran it the first time, and then I'm going to see how much quicker it does it. So this is going to be an interesting exercise. Also be interesting exercise to see if this insulation will stand up to the heat. It should. As I said, it's rated at 120 degrees Celsius, so it should stand up to it, but we'll wait and see. So I'm going to actually be running the still tomorrow because there's some storms coming over today, and I just wanted to get this part of it done, and then I was going to show you the pump and the reticulation, but because it's going to start raining in a second, I'll leave that until tomorrow. Anyway, I'll be back. Okay, so it's the next day and I'm running a little bit behind as usual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer my 74% into the still. I've got 0 here on the scales, which I'm not sure you can see, and it's just after midday. So hopefully I have this up and running by 1 o'clock. I'm basically going to put 112 litres of water into this once I've added this, and that's going to bring it down to about an 8% solution. And I know that's very low, but I want to just do a test to see how efficient this thermal blanket is, and just see how well it works and how much energy it is saving, and whether it was in actual fact worth the cost and time that I put in. Having said that, it didn't take me terribly long to mock it up. Everything is connected. All the windows are in, the taps are in, so I've put all the sort of preliminary connections on there just to get me started. So because of the difficulty of transferring this, I'm actually going to use a bucket, and yes, I know it's plastic, but for the time it's going to be in here, it won't matter. And I'm going to put it into the still using this initially, just so as I don't spill any. So here we go. Okay, so we're on to 14.2. Okay, so we did lose a little bit. What was it? It was 14.4. So 200 grams evaporation, all the rest of it. Okay, so I'm going to actually add this back into the still. Okay, so this is just to get some flavour into the distillate. So I'm going to use get the oils out of the oranges and lemons that I put in there, because I want quite a zesty feel to the gin I'm going to produce. All right, so now for the water. Okay. All right, now this is a food quality hose, so we need 112 litres, so that's 112 kilograms of cold water. It's 2 litres, 3, 4. Anyway, we'll just let that heat up. And I'll just clean up that bit of alcohol on the floor there. Oh, smells like oranges and lemons. Beautiful. Now you probably, well, you can't see it from over there, but in the top of this parrot, comes down here around into here, there's actually holes in the top of the parrot here, and that's to let air in, so it's not a closed system, and of course we have the drain pump at the bottom here, which I'll use to get rid of the foreshots and the heads at the early stage of the distillation. Alright, so sorry about that, the camera switched itself off. So anyway, after a bit of a hiatus, we've finally got it all together. So we've got our water reticulation system connected, all the plates are in, the things, it's charged, I've got the jacket on it, and it's just on 1:10 so hoping for about a 7 o'clock finish tonight at this stage. So we'll see what happens. So I'm just going to clean up a little bit, move a few things around, make it a little easier to access things, and then we'll get started. I just going to connect up the water outside with the pump, and once I've done that, I'm going to run a bit of a water test, make sure that all the reticulation's happening properly, and then we'll switch her on. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so we're finally up and running. I've had a few issues because I've replumbed this and reconfigured it. I had a couple of little leaks in the water lines and that sort of thing, so it just took me a little while to sort all that out. So that's how it all sorted. I've got the water reticulation happening. Still hasn't been turned on yet, but I'm about to do that. So it's what, 2:15, so we'll hit the go switch. So as I said, we're going to run it at the same, which is 50%, and we'll go from there. Okay, so 47, 48, 49, 50% and 50%. Okay, so running on 123 volts, sort of around about 10 amps. Okay, so that's what we're drawing. So 2:15, the temperature is on 25 degrees exactly, or 25.1 I suppose. So we'll just see how long she takes to heat up. So 50%, 124 volts, 10 amps. So that's pretty good. Okay, so we've been going for about an hour now. So the temperature is now up to 60 degrees Celsius in the kettle. The head temperature is still just under 30 degrees, so that's about 29 degrees. There's no action on the bubble plates yet. I've got water reticulation on. I prefer to do it that way. Other people do it differently, and that's fine. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and so everyone does it their own way. Thermal blanket, I think, is actually making a difference. I think that's retaining the heat. We're about 10 degrees warmer in this time than we were for the first run. So seems to be making a bit of a difference. It's getting to that temperature a bit quicker. So yeah, that's everything's in line. I'm ready to collect the heads. In the last distillation, when I did this initially, I did stop this at 45%, I think it was off the top of my head. 45% and is where I stopped it. So essentially taking the tails out of it at that point. So I'll probably run it to about the same today, probably to around about 45, 46% down to that, and then that's what I will keep and discard the rest. I'm going to take about 1 litre out of the heads. I'll see what will come to when I start producing the ethanol. I'll see how much of that we get. I'm not anticipating we're going to get a lot of ethanol out of this one, only a relatively small amount, and then we'll do probably about half a litre of heads in that process. But I'll just sort of taste and smell it and just see how it looks for that heads, and then when I've got about half a litre to a litre, I'll switch that off, and then we'll collect the hearts, hence Hearts Distillery. Yeah, so I'll keep you updated when we get to the next milestone. Okay, so we reached about 66 degrees Celsius in the kettle. So we're obviously starting to produce a bit of ethanol in there, 64.7, whatever it is, the thing is for ethanol. I just wanted to just quickly go through the cooling system I'm running actually 1-inch cooling. So this still, being an engineered still, is actually designed to have a 1-inch cooling system. So all the pipes running in and out of the pool, up through here, through the pump, it's a 1-inch 1-inch pump, runs through here, and all this is 1 inch. And what that does is it allows a very high volume. It then allows the water to stay at a constant temperature, so it's not heating up too much. Obviously I have a very large reservoir of water that I'm drawing from, so it's not really an issue, but it just means that we've got the water flowing through quickly, which means it doesn't give it time to heat up, so you're not getting a differential in temperature between the top and the bottom of your condenser. You will get a bit of differential here because it's obviously a much shorter space, but as I said, we're going to control the heat with this lever, with the water coming out of it, going into our 90-degree tolerant pipe here, coming in here. So this is where I'm going to control my head temperature, 64.7 here for my methanol, and then up here for the ethanol at 78 degrees, and right through to about 90, about just on 200 Fahrenheit, about 96, 95 degrees Celsius. So that'll be the range. Still not action in the bubble plates as yet, but they are starting to steam up. Feel a bit of heat coming through the insulation, but nothing like it was before. It's actually containing the heat quite well. Well, we're up to nearly 70 degrees in 1 hour and 15 minutes roughly we've been going. So definitely the insulation blanket is making a difference in terms of shortening it down. Might be a little bit of bubble action happening. Hang on, let's have a look. Let's have a look. No, it's getting a bit foggy on the bottom one. This is still very cool to touch, so nothing happening there, but just starting to get a little bit of action happening in the bottom plate there, but got a while to go yet. But anyway, we'll come back when things start to happen again. Okay, so it's now 4:35, and as you can see, all of a sudden all the plates are starting to have just all of a sudden loaded. Bottom plate yet to load. So we're getting a head height of over 90 degrees. So we're looking at around about 86 degrees there. So, or 80 degrees, so it's a bit high. I want to bring it down a bit. So I've just turned the pulse width modulus down to 45%. And what I'm trying to do is get all the plates loaded and try to make sure that we don't get any ethanol. There we go. So the bottom plate's now loaded or getting loaded. So that's good. That's loaded. It's probably a bit too hard at the moment. So I'm going to turn it down a bit more and see if we can get that temperature down a little bit, because at the moment it's a bit high. So I want to get that down into the methanol range. Alright, so I'm going to get it down to 40%. So it was at 50%, so now we've got it down to 40%. See if that temperature drops a bit. Have a look at the okay, let's have a look at the plates again. Okay, let's have a look at that plate. So that plate's bubbling away, that plate's bubbling probably a little bit too aggressively. That's bubbling, and the bottom plate is bubbling as well. So that's good, but I'll bring it down to 45, see if I can get that temperature down. It's a little bit high at the moment. It's going to start producing, and I don't want it to produce just yet. Right, but you can see, if you look at that top plate, you can see that it's all dripping down. Okay, so we'll just keep working on that. I think about 40% we should be okay. Just let it settle down for a little while. Temperature is at just on 60, 70, 80 degrees Celsius. So we're about 2 degrees above the ethanol range, but we'll see if we can get that under control. A bit too high on those plates. So especially plate 4 and plate 3. So we'll bring that down again. Okay, so I brought it down to 35%. So the bottom plate is looking pretty good. So that's, I mean, the second plate still a bit aggressive. Third plate's definitely flooded, and the fourth plate is definitely flooded as well. So anyway, we'll hang in there and see what happens over the next couple of minutes. But certainly the head temperature is a little bit high, but it's coming down a bit, which is good. I need to get that down. I haven't adjusted the water at this stage, so we'll see what happens. Of course, no produce at the moment. Okay, so I brought the temperature down to 30% now, so running both elements at 30%. The top plate reflux has certainly settled down, so that's a lot better. The second has settled down a bit, and number 2, so second from the top, is still probably a little high, and number 1 is just bubbling away nicely. So we'll just keep it at that level. Yeah, the temperature's dropped, which is good. Okay, so we're now sort of more in that ethanol range. So again, I'm just trying to shine the light so it's not reflective. So you should be able to see that. So we've brought it down to from sort of 70, 80 degrees down to about 65. So we'll just keep it at that level. But it all's dripping back down. I don't know if you can see that, but it is certainly, the deflagrator is certainly working and dripping all the alcohol down. So yeah, we seem to be going okay. So I might just turn the water down a little bit now that we seem to have it more under control. Plate 3 is probably still a little high. Yeah, kettle temperature's at about 94, 96, 95 degrees as well. So I'll just keep it on plate 2, sorry, second from the bottom. But definitely making a difference having the thermal blanket on it. I don't think there's as much radiating heat coming up onto the column as there was before, and so the column's not as hot as it was. Okay, so we're down to the in the ethanol range. So we're on around about 68 degrees Celsius at the moment. So certainly should be producing some ethanol. Just having a look in the gin basket, bit of steam, but no production at this stage. Okay, so it's about 4:47. The plates have been loaded for a few minutes. I've just reduced the water flow. I'm just trying to get a little bit of production happening. So I'm just reducing the amount of water flow, giving the ethanol a chance to escape, get up in through to the gin basket and see if we produce anything. We'll see how that goes for a few minutes. I've got the pulse width modulators up to 35% now, and all the plates are loaded and bubbling away, so that's fine. I think 35% is probably going to be where I am. So I don't know if you remember, but with the without the jacket, without the insulation, I was running it at 47%. So now I'm running it at 35%. So that's a substantial decrease in the amount of energy I'm putting into it. I've got it up to now around about just on 70 degrees Celsius at the head. So we should be getting some ethanol runoff, if there is any. At this stage, nothing. We've got no discharge at all from the foreshots or the heads, or whatever you want to call it. So we'll see what happens. Well, I don't think there's going to be much ethanol in this at all, if any. Just looking at it, and also knowing what I did in the first batch, we sort of did clean it out pretty well. With a sugar wash, you don't get much ethanol anyway, but we'll see what happens. I'll just give it a few more minutes and see if we get any ethanol production. We're heading up to the methanol methanol production. We're heading up into the ethanol range now, so we'll see if we start to get production of the ethanol, and we'll get rid of some of the heads, and then hopefully we can then move on to the tails. But we're sitting on 95 Celsius in the kettle, so I'm just going to leave it on 35%. So that's 12% less running it out just with the thermal blanket. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a bit of a balancing act, you know. You sort of got to balance your plates and your head temperature. So your plate 3 and 4 is probably getting a little bit flooded, but I might just whack it down a percentage down to 30. I'll take it down to 34%. See how that goes, and then just back the water off a bit into the flagnator. Just back that off a little bit and see how we go. Yes, anyway. Yeah. Wow, what a difference that's made. Okay. That's still pretty cool. Yeah, we're sort of at 74 degrees at the moment, and absolutely no methanol coming out at this stage. So I might back it off a bit, back off the water a bit more. Yeah, that leaks back. I'm going to have to fix that. A bit more pressure. 74. All right, let's see what happens. Still no production. Okay, here we go at last. So what is it? 5:04, and we're starting to get some produce. So this will be the heads. Yeah, very metho-y. So yeah, definitely got that sort of metho smell to it. So we'll just let that go for a little while. Collect about a litre, see how we go. So I've got the head temperatures up to about 94 Celsius. I've brought the water right down. So the water is, I don't know if you can see that, but we're probably down around about 85% at the moment on the water. There we go, I just zoom in on that. So there's the water lever now, so it's almost horizontal to me, which is then means that we've got no water running through that at all. But at least we are getting produce out the bottom there, so that's a good sign. Okay, so I'm going to keep collecting that. As you can see, it's coming out very fast. I'll just put a torch on that, so hopefully you can see that pouring out. So I'll give that another test in a minute, see how it's going. Yeah, still a bit. Not too bad. Okay. So, all right. So what I'm going to do, So that's at 94 degrees. I'm going to whack the temperature up again on the D flag. I'm doing that for a good reason. Okay, so the D flag to head temperature is going to drop now. Now that's what I'm going to take out from the heads at this stage. Probably it's about, I don't know, 250, 300 mils. And now I'm going to add my botanicals to the gin basket. So that's why I'm just taking the head temperature up, just to stop the production for a minute. So I don't want to lose too much. Okay, it's not as hot as what I thought it was going to be, which is good. Okay. Right. Pop that in there. Whoops. Lost a couple. Pop that in there. Okay, we'll put the lid on again, and the clamp. Okay, now we'll turn the water down again. The temperature drop right down, bring the water right back down again. Close the valves to the heads. We didn't lose much. A few juniper berries, not much, so that's fine. Let that temperature get up there again to 94, 96. Let's have a look. Okay. Okay. Might just bring that temperature back up to about 36. Let's try 37. Just lost a bit of bubble plates on the bottom too, so I want to just bring that up again. That head temperature up again. Okay, just give that a few minutes to equalise and we'll be back. Okay, so we're now producing. We're coming in at around about 85% purity, running at 38% on the pulse width modulator and getting a nice steady stream. I'll see if I can get the auto thing. So with a light on it, so getting a nice steady stream. The alcometer's reading just on 85%, so not a bad result. And we'll just leave it at that. Head temperature right on 90 degrees Celsius at the moment, 92 degrees Celsius. So we'll see how we go. Just keeping that. The bubble plates have backed off a lot. Not getting much reflux, which is not unusual because I've turned the reflux right down, the water right down, so yeah, we're not getting a lot of reflux through. Okay, so it's now the next night. I've been at work, it's about 7:15 at night. Sorry, the lighting's probably not as bright as usual, but I just don't have time to set it all up. Quick recap. I finished at 5:15 last night. So I started, sorry, 5:30. So I started at 2:15. So it was only 3¼ hours that I was doing it for. I lost a fair bit of produce, which I wasn't overly surprised with because I was starting at a very weak ABV in the still. So I got it down to about, I brought it down to about 40%. The head I took off 192 grams, 172 grams at 92%. So that was the first bit you saw me taking out of here at the very beginning of the run. So that's now stored in the heads and methanol canister over there. Wife gets home in about 30-40 minutes. So I'm just quickly going to try and break this down, put it away, and then clean it up a bit later on. But I just wanted to break it down a bit whilst I had a bit of open space here. So yeah, I ended up with about let's see what I end up with. Probably around about 7 litres at around about 55% ABV. So I lost a fair bit in the process. It was an interesting exercise. The insulation jacket made a huge difference to the efficiency of the still. So I had to learn all that because there was quite a bit of tweaking that I needed to do to try and work out the balance. What I figured out was the heat that was coming off the still was heating up the column and allowing me to get the pardon me, the plates, the bubble plates loaded a lot earlier than this way of doing it. It took a bit longer for the bubble plates to load and a little bit harder to control the bubble plates. I had to muck around, as you saw, with the temperatures a bit to get it right. I ended up at 47% on the pulse width modulator, and that gave me a good constant loading on the plates and thing. But it dropped very quickly. The ABV dropped very, very quickly. Within sort of an hour and a half, it had dropped right down to nearly 40%. So I decided when it was down to 40%, I'd just cut it there and cut my losses. And just get on with it. So I'm going to break it down now. So this is the process. Yeah, that's how long it took me to break it down. Probably, I don't know, half an hour. I'm not going to worry too much about the copper. When it comes time to clean the copper, obviously I'll rinse it off, give it a light wash down. I'll put it into some 551 to clean it again. It only has to be in there for 2 or 3 hours before it's ready to go. Yeah, so I'm going to do a fermentation, another fermentation. I've got the sugar here for another sugar fermentation. So I've got to try and get that started tonight as well. Do another 130 litres in that and get some neutral out of this. I'm going to do a neutral run and I'm going to mix the neutral in with what I took off last night because it's quite a strong flavour. I did have a sneaky little taste. So it's quite a strong flavour in that one with what I used. Needs a bit of a filter because I've got a little bit of the orange and lemon and all the spices I put through, a little bit of what am I looking for? Real estate off those products. So yeah, I'll need to clean that out and give that a quick filter just to clean it up a bit. Look, that's really all I want to do on this one. It's been a learning curve. It's made a huge difference using this. I'm really interested in doing another fermentation batch and putting it through here with the insulation on, because that'll really give me a good idea of the efficiency. But I mean, we've gone from 6.5 hours down to 3.25 hours to get down to that 40%. Albeit, yes, we started with a much weaker solution. So yeah, I mean, it will be interesting once we compare apples with apples to see how it goes. So that'll be in the next one. So that'll be in a couple of weeks' time. By the time that's fermented out, we'll be looking for about an 8%. 0.8, 1.08, 0.085, getting down to about 0.9 again. So we should eat out all the sugars. Again, using high-grade distillers yeast, 18% tolerant yeast, ABV. So that's what I'll be using again in that to get this neutral happening. All right, well, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. You know, by all means, if you like, you know, refer me to friends, give me the thumbs up. If you've got any comments, make sure you make comments. I get comments from time to time and I really enjoy that. You know, as I keep saying, I'm no guru, you know, I'm just learning as I'm going along, and you know, a bit of fun and keeps me occupied. So yeah, that's it from me. Ciao for now. Have a nice week. Distilling alcohol is illegal in Australia unless you hold the appropriate licenses and permits. I am not a lawyer, and the contents of this video are not intended to be legal advice. Do not rely on any information contained in this video and seek your own legal professional advice before making any decisions. Be aware, the Australian Tax Office and the local law enforcement agencies will be taking interest in this channel due to its content. Please keep this in mind before posting any comments. Any comments posted are the opinion of the person posting and not of this channel. Let's get started.